decision-making agility in real time. Okay. What we did was, as you see in box 4, Oracle on Azure, SQL Server on Azure, you can have the CDC also on Azure. Whereas the other 3 scenarios are also equally true. You can have everything on premise. You can have Oracle on premise, your warehouse on premise, and run the CDC on premise. You can have either the OLTP system or the OLAP system on Azure. Okay, on Azure or in Azure, and you can do the CDC also either on premise or inside the Azure. So irrespective of where you have your OLTP, where you have your OLAP system, you can run the CDC service either on premise or on the cloud. Okay, so you can do your Azure and your real-time changes really quickly. We have a case study which has been published by the Punjab National Bank. It is a bank which has got 119 years of strong experiences and has over 6,000 branches. It services 82 million esteemed customers. So the issue we had was the end of the day bulk upload from their OLTP system to the warehouse took 6 hours. And bear it in mind here that the source was an OLTP Oracle system and the data warehouse was a DB2 system. The IT personnel had to work till midnight for the ETW to refresh and then send out reports. Now, using CDC, there's an up to the minute refresh of ETW, and it has reduced in the labor cost that it would take, because initially 2 shifts of IT resources would run in order to deliver the resource. Here on my right, I have a list of people who have been involved in giving this elegant solution to Punjab National Bank. Let's look at what is a powerful new way to work with data. Right? I'm going to show you some Excel miracles. I'm going to open my Excel 2013. Blank Excel 2013. I go to my file, I go to my options, and then add-ins. In add-ins, I go to form add-ins and say go. If you have got SQL Server 2013, Professional and onwards, Power View, Power Query, Power Map, and are all available, you just have to pick them. Okay. So what is Power BI? Power BI consists of 4 components. What are the things that you would like to do in a self-service BI kind of a scenario? First, you would like to get some information onto some processing tool. Once you have information from different resources, you would want to create some kind of a relationship between them. You would want to create some visualizations out of them, and you would want to create some dashboards out of them. Let's see if we can do all of them. So the first thing that we have is Power Query. In Power Query, we can get data from different files such as Excel, CSV, XML, text, or from a different folder. We can get data from different databases. It need not only be SQL Server, you can also pull it from the cloud in terms of SQL Azure, from Oracle, IBM, MySQL, PostgreSQL, and Teradata. You can also get it from other sources like a SharePoint list, OData feed. You can also get data from Facebook, Exchange, Active Directory, and Windows Azure Blob Storage, and HD Insight as well. All these, of course, there are more and more adapters to different systems, but what is the most important thing here is the online search. Right? This is new. So in an online search, you will get data from all the systems that Microsoft decides that that is an authenticated source of data. For example, you will get data from Wikipedia. You will get data from any of the public.nic.in sites. You will get data from published from the Windows Azure blobs. Okay, you will get data from the marketplace. So let me run some query on to say India population. Now, if you see, I have got a set of results. One says religions of India. Okay, so this is based on the religions. How many are Hindus, Muslims, Christians? 6. Now here there's one more population of India. It's by the states, Delhi, Haryana, so on and so forth. There's one more which says it is based on the age groups. Let me pick up the second one. Okay. Now if I just double click on this and say load it onto the Excel. it will load the data onto Excel. What is important, what is good about this fact is, if you look at the source of this one, right, the source, it would be a Wikipedia page. If you go to that page, actually you will see that it is not a table, it has got a lot of textual information as well. But the query is, when you execute the query, it is powerful enough to find out that I would want to get it only from these places. That is, it will read the HTML tags, it will identify the TRTD and pick up only the data information and put it onto Excel. Right? So this is a powerful new way in which you can get data into your systems. Let me close this. So this is the Power Query. Power Query will help you get data from different sources onto your Excel, including the online searches. Let me open Excel again. This time, let's assume that we've got all the relevant data that we need into Excel. How will we create relationships? I mean, how will I analyze if I've got multiple data? I'm going to go to my Power Query table. Sorry, I'm going to go to my Power Pivot table. I'm going to click on Manage. Okay, I'll get some data from SQL Server. I'm going to log into my SQL Server. I'm going to connect to a database and I'm going to get some data. It's giving me an option whether I want to get it from a list of tables and views, or I can write a query. That means I can write a join, I can do cross database joins, whatever. I'll now decide to get it from all the tables that are there. Okay, I can pick up one thing and then I can say select related tables. Based on the foreign key, okay, it will pick up other tables. If there are no foreign keys, obviously it won't pick up anything. So I'm going to add everything. This database that I've picked up has got 4 tables. One is the fact monthly sales, dim time, dim item and dim geography, 3-dimension tables. I'm going to finish it. Now this has only 532 rows, but even in like a million rows, because it's all happening in memory, it's extremely fast. There's a huge compression algorithm. There is no limit to the amount of data. I mean, the limit to the data that you can hold is very, very huge. On a Power BI site, you can hold data up to 6 GB on an Excel file, and that is when it is compressed by 3x. Okay, so this has an Excel look and feel. But if you look at this button in the corner, okay, you can get the diagrammatic view of it as well on your bottom right hand corner. If there were relationship within your system, it would have bought the relationship and it would have created keys. Otherwise, you can create the relationships by just dragging and dropping from here to here. Or you can also click on store ID, you can say create relationship. So it is saying that I have to create a relationship from fact monthly sales to store ID to, I'm going to select dim geography, and automatically it has picked up store ID because the names are similar. I can create a relationship. Similarly, for month ID, I'm going to create a relationship. Okay. Now, what next? Now that the relationships are created, I would want to create a hierarchy. What's a hierarchy? Generally, what happens in a cube? You would want to drill up and drill down. That is, you would want to go from your year to your quarter year to your month to your week to your day and so on and so forth. Similarly, drill up is, or roll up is the same thing. You go from the lowermost level or the leaf level into the highermost level. You can also slice and dice across different dimensions in a cube. That is the basic advantage of using a cube. So let's say that I want to create a hierarchy. I'm going to create a hierarchy, create hierarchy of my product. So at the topmost level, I have type name. I will click on the item name and say add to hierarchy, add to the product hierarchy, and then I can see that my product hierarchy has got 2 levels in it. Okay, I'm going to save this. I'm going to put it on my desktop as book 1, 2. I'm going to go back into my manage tab. Now what? Listen, whenever we clicked on the diagram view, there is also this small thing called as grid view. I'm going to go back to my grid view where I can actually see the data in the form of tables and in the form of rows and columns, that is in the form of tables. I'm going to go on to this tab called the fact monthly sales. Let me create some measures. How did we create measures previously? Previously, whenever we created an MOLAP cube, there was a language called as multidimensional expression or MDX. We created cubes using MDX. So here I'm going to use, because it's an Excel, I'm going to use my Excel formulas, and I'm going to create metrics just by using Excel formulas. Now, sum is something simple to do. What if I have to do something else like a profit? What is the value of profit? I will say profit is equal to selling price minus cost price. Okay. Now, I will say I need to know what is my average profit, so I will still do an auto sum, but I will rename the metric to say average. How do we do it here in Excel? The moment I start typing to average, it gives it to me. I just click on this. So the average profit has been calculated. What next? What would we look for? Let's create a KPI. Okay. I'll say in terms of an absolute value, any profit now which is less than 100, okay, let's say which is less than 75, I want it to be red. Anything between 75 and 100, I want it to be yellow, and anything above 100, I want it to be green. Okay. Now, if I go to my pivot table and say I want a pivot chart, let me put it into an existing sheet. I will say I want to look at my selling price. I also want to take a look at my selling price by my different city names. Okay. Now, okay. Then we had the product, right? So if there's something called an average profit. So I'll say show me the value of the average profit as a category. Let's remove the selling price for a minute. Okay. So this is the kind of graph that we get. Now things like let me create one more chart. If I want to say give me the sum of selling price, the sum of cost price, give me the profit as a filter. So remove the average profit from here. Remove also the selling price to reduce the clutter. So if I say show me all products which have got a profit of 363, I can see that only city 1 has got it. I can say show multiple things. I can click at random things here and say show me only these cities, right? And it is showing me city 1, 2 and 3. So it's allowed you to create these metrics. It's allowed you to create the KPIs which are what are important. It's allowed you to create a hierarchy and relationship between the things. The advantage of Power Pivot is whatever you do here, you can write it onto a SQL Server tabular services model. In order to put it into a SQL Server tabular services model, you have to have another instance of SQL Server analysis services installed. You have to install it in the tabular model and then write to it. Okay. Now this is this gave us the ability to add metrics. What if we had all the metrics? Can we create a dashboard? Let's actually create a dashboard now. I'm going to go back to my Excel and give you an example of what Power View can do. So I'm going to go into data. I'm going to import data, all right, from one of the existing connections of SQL Server where I get some data. When you have Power View installed, you will get this option to say Power View report, without which you wouldn't get it. I am going to put the data into a Power View report. If there are no relationships, you can create relationships as I did before. Now this is fetching all the data and storing it in a crunched format within Excel. What will I do? I will store all my distributors and I will store all the quantity that was served. Okay, I'm going to create a pie chart out of it. I'm going to click my cursor over here. I'm going to say, in terms of the items, give me the color of what was served and quantity consumed. And we will make it into a stacked column. Increase the size. I'm going to create a couple of more things. I'm going to say, give me the type of food that was sold and the quantity consumed. And then we'll do a stacked bar for this one. I'm going to increase its size. Then we are going to say, give me the, did you do a type? No. Type that was served and quantity consumed. And we will choose a line chart. Okay, let's put this also into a stacked bar. Let's change this into a line. Because there are 3 data points, it will play around better. Let me give it a name. Let me call it as quantity consumed dashboard. Okay. Now, if I click on any of the distributor, it will change and say this distributor, the curbside country, sold so many drinks, so many food, a lot of it as is, some of it cold, in these colors. It sold nothing as white, so who sold all the whites? It's saying that food which was white in color was sold very little as is, a lot of it was sold cold, a lot of it was sold hot and by these people. So what did the field trip store serve? The field trip store served everything, most of it as is, very little hot, it served only food. So who served all the drinks? Look at the way there is dynamic play between these elements. Right? You can analyze anything that you want. In fact, if you can click on this pop-out, you can also click it out in terms of a pop-out. You can see the details if you have got a difficult chart to read with a lot of information, and you can push it back. When I click on this, there's also a filter which says show filter. So I can say not all colors, show me only brown, green, orange and red. Right? Even in terms of the quantity consumed, here it's a dashboard. So let me just select everything. And then here I can say show me only, show me only what was served between this point and this point. Right? Finally, the themes. If you don't like those colors, you can change everything to green, from a bluish thing. You can change from green to, you can change it to something like red. Okay, look at even the font of this header is changing. You can set an image, you can set a background color, or you can set an image in the background. You can set up an image in the background if you would want it. Okay, so this is a live dashboard which we created in a few minutes. Look at the productivity that you are getting. All this is also a portion of O365. Let me show you the last portion of how we can enhance these visualizations, and we can enhance these visualizations from by using some 3D, by using representation of latitude and longitudinal information. I seem to have lost the folder. Just give me a minute. Okay. Sorry. I've got some, what is important in this data is I have got, let's understand this data a bit. I've got some case numbers. I've got some dates. Then there is another number of what happened. Okay. What happened in the thing, like, this is related to heroin, this is related to cannabis, and where did it happen? Did it happen on the street, and did it happen on the sidewalk, and were beats happening in that area? What is the ward number in which it was happening, and what is the latitude and the longitude information? I'm going to go into my insert tab here and then click on map. So when I say launch power map, I'll create a new tour. It will give me a brilliant, beautiful wizard to say what is my latitude and longitudinal information. Because it has got the same name, it will automatically pick up my latitude and longitude information. Let me tell you that you have to be connected onto an internet connection to do this, because it reads Bing Maps and gets information from there. Okay. So now it's asking me, I'm going to click on next. It's asking me, what do you want for the height? I will say the number of beats for the heights, or I will say probably the blocks. Okay, because it looks a little more colorful. Then if I change, look at the dynamism with which it operates. If I choose the graph type as column, it will ask me what is the height. If I change the column type to heat map, it's automatically created some color coding for me. If I change it to bubble, it's asking me what would you want the representation of the size to be, right? I mean, pretty intuitive that way. So I'm going back to my columns and I will say choose beats for the heights, choose blocks for the category. Okay. And then there is something called the time. I'm going to drag and drop the date to here to say that it has to be time. When I do this, it's automatically given me this time button to play around with. When I click on the time button, it's saying that look at the way the things are doing. Now instead of this sum of beats, I can also say average or count of beats. If I run it again, because it is average, it won't change so much over time as the sum did. Okay, so this is again visualization in Excel. You can do a 2D chart, you can do a 3D chart. See, this will act as a filter now for you to find out what is happening. The background image will change based on what you have taken in the foreground. Alright, let's go back. What I wanted to show you is in Excel, you can discover data using Power Query. You can analyze data using Power Pivot. You can visualize it using Power View and Power Map. The same thing is also available in O365 on the cloud. You can share it either on SharePoint or on a Power BI site. And then you can do Q&A as well, and you can finally deal with mobility. All these sites which are hosted can be seen as visualizations in a HTML5 browser, including your mobile devices. Okay, so we've spoken about Power Query, Power BI, Power View, and Power Map.